What's up, everybody? It's Elemental and Hempers here, and today we are going to show you how to make your own custom handmade silver pendants on your own custom braided hemp colored necklaces, just like we got here. So we hope you enjoy this tutorial, and a lot of you actually do some of these projects. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is the first two things you're going to want to do are cut your wire and clean your wire of any excess debris or buildup of corrosion. So for the base wire, as we'll call it, I use this half hard 20 gauge round wire. Okay, and just so you know, the best source available for pure silver wire, whether it be sterling or Argentinian silver, is Rio Grande. That's riogrande.com. I would recommend them for all your wire wrapping needs with silver and gold, I think, as well. So I kind of what I'll do here is estimate a length on the coil for what I need, and this can vary depending on the size of stone you're using. If you're using multiple stones, I mean, you can add coils and other types of weaves into your original construction as well. But for now, I'm just doing some small petite wraps that I think people are into. So I'm not making these too terribly long. And then what I'll do is I'll fold that wire in half. And I'll find the two ends here. Here we go. And I'll go ahead and line those up so they're pretty much even. And then you take that and kind of just find your way back. And you don't want to bend it all the way, but you know what I mean? Find the middle point. That is where you're going to want to cut. Make your cut, and you only need a few tools for this. You know, just some wire cutters. I really use these quite frequently, these longer needle nose pliers, true needle nose pliers. These are actually kind of more difficult to find. And then, you know, my regular flat needle nose. Now, if you'll notice on the video here, these don't have ridges on the inside, so they won't scratch your wire if you're careful and know the right way to use them. It takes some practice and finesse, though. But yeah, then I'll get into my wrapping wire, and this is a 28 gauge silver. This stuff actually got pretty dirty. That's why you see kind of that yellow tint to it. So for this project, I'm going to pull out about a little over arm's length or so. For this, I'll just stretch my arms way out and bring it back. Find the little hole there where the wire has to be reinserted, and cut it just above that point. So now that both of our wire types have been cut, you're going to want to clean them real quick. And I usually have a cloth for this, but I'm just going to use an end of my hoodie. And you basically just take the wire. This is fairly simple. Put it inside the hoodie here. Fold the hoodie over the wire. Okay. And you're just going to want to pull it on through but pinching the cloth that's touching the wire very tightly, so it's getting off all that debris and corrosion that might have built up on the spool. You know, this spool actually was in a camper trailer of mine that I was living in for a while, a couple years ago. I actually forgot I had this spool. Thank God I found it, because it's my 28 gauge wrapping wire is probably the most vital wire type I need to do these wraps. So now that I got that nice and cleaned up, I basically want to line everything up directly in the middle of all the wires and keep the two wire types perpendicular to each other. So once again, just find the middle, and you don't want to really bend it, but line up the ends and go ahead and work it back to the front so you can find where that middle is. See that middle part, which is going to be right here. Okay, hold your fingers there, or actually I'm gonna have to put it in my mouth real quick. But the same thing here with the center. Do the same thing with the thinner wire. Now this loop here is going to go perpendicular, like I said, between these loops here, and starting it can sometimes be a little bit tricky. It's probably the hardest part. But you just got to keep those nice and lined up, and don't worry if it shifts from side to side on the wire a little bit when you're doing it, as long as you haven't gotten into the weave part yet. And then what you're going to want to do is keep this very tight, so you can see how these two base wires are very close together and flat. That's what you want. So use your non-dominant hand to pinch the wire, and your other fingers here to hold the end of the wire there. And you're going to want to just kind of pull it tight some more. It's very important that you get these first two coils very close together, so there's not a gap right in the top center of your, what we call the bail. That's the thing that's going to, what we're creating right now is the thing that's going to hold the necklace on your actual pendant that you're creating. So, you know, take your time with the first couple of loops. Now that I got these first couple loops in there, I can go ahead and start coiling, and it's a little bit simpler once you have the first couple in. You just start coiling, and I need to pull back to do this because there's not much space here. You really need to have space. But I'm essentially just going to wrap around 9 times on one side of the first coil and 9 times on the other side. So with the center coil combined, there's going to be a total of 19 loops that you're putting, and you want them to have even spacing. Okay, so as you can see here, I've completed the coiling there for the top of the bail. Actually looks a little bigger in the video than it actually is in real life. But after that part, you're going to want to split one side and then eventually the other side after you start this part of the weave. But you split those two to create sort of a V, if you will. Create this V by just splitting the wire apart like this. So when you start your weave, you want to split these wires apart. And then after you split them apart, you kind of go in and out, right? So you just go do one full loop around the first side and come back over top of it again, and then instead of completing the second loop, you go underneath the wire across from it and repeat on that side, 1, 2, under and over, 1, 2, under and over. And you're going to want to make sure that you're keeping your coils that you're making with your weave on each side very close together, so there's no spacing. You can always pull them close together a little bit if you need to, and kind of, you know, pull the wire tight and manipulate it back and forth to get it to really go into place. So I'll be back with you guys in 1 second after I complete this part of the weave. Okay, so what you end up here with is a little bow tie effect after you finish the weaves on both sides. You know, this one actually came out a little uneven. I had this side that my finger's on, I had the base wire spread a little bit farther apart for a little bit wider of an angle of a bail than I did on the other side here. But that's no matter. Now, typically, this is one I made earlier today. I'm going to make 2 wraps with these. This is typically what they come out to look like. I think it was a little harder to do because I was distracted taking the video and wasn't giving it my full energy. But that's usually what they look like. The next part you're going to want to do here is finish off coiling the rest of your thin wire here around whichever side you ended up on both sides. And you could choose to keep your coil go on the same side, or you could choose opposite sides and do all different kinds of things with the design after that. So yeah, you're just gonna coil the rest of this off. Okay, so this is what it looks like when the coil's done. You can see the difference between the regular base wire and the coiled wire. This is on the other one I was working on. And what you're going to want to do next after you have both coils on both sides finished, you're going to want to crimp the end here with some needle nose pliers to make it even and not stick out and catch on things. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pinch these together right here and fold them down. And I did that already on this one, so you can see here that's the original loop we started with, and then we bring these two together. And the next step is going to be to connect each bottom part. There's 2 sides, right? So I'm going to connect this side first with the coils on it. I chose to have my coils both on the same side. And you can do a few different things here, but I'm going to start another coil, what I would call a double coil right here. And so I'm going to continue like that. Now, I like to put, you know, if I'm going to put one side of the weave on the inside and one the other side on the outside. I try to keep that consistent. So this thinner weave here is going to go on the inside of the thicker weave on the outside, on the other part there. So, and once again, I'm just going to do a regular coil actually on this part. That's what I'm ending up with at the moment. So now I'm going to make the rest of the structure for this, and after I pick a stone. You can pick a stone after you make the structure, but I prefer to try to mold the design around the shape of the stone that I'm using. So I'll pick a stone first before I go any further. The stone is selected, a piece of moldavite. And it's always a good idea to weigh your stones, especially if they're valuable, rare stones like this tektite here. But, you know, before you do the wrap. So this one's 3.17. So this is how the end product turned out after the wire wrap is complete. Turned out really nice on this one. You know, I was saying it was molding the design to the design of the stone, and didn't have quite enough wire there, so I added in this weave at the end to make sure this bottom part didn't come loose and knock the stone out. This officially completes my moldavite set, and I have all 4 of them there on the one mannequin, and then we've got the 2 Ethiopian opals that I have left there. One of them is being picked up on the 10th. The other one, I forget what's going on with that one. It might still be available at this point. But yeah, that's how you turn out beautiful wire wrap pendant, guys. And now I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful colored hemp braid cords as necklaces to put on them. Or actually, Hempress and I are going to show you. So first you got to measure out the length of the hemp cord. Pretty simple. Cut them. Line them up with the rest of them to determine the length. And you're going to fold each cord over because you're using two sides to each cord. And then you're going to have 3 of those total, so it'll actually be 6 cords with 3 of them folded in half. That gives it a lot of strength. At 20-pound test per cord, you know, do the math. 6 cords, it makes it pretty much unbreakable. And that's what you end up with there. And one of them is a multicolored Rasta cord, so that's why you see the change in Rasta color in there. And the other one is forest green and this goldish color, slightly off orange. So as you can see here, we're doing this little braid. And that's what it comes out to. Stick a tack on the wall. It's a little braid. Here's what you get with the end products. This is one she made earlier. That one came out really nice color combo there. And then got the one that just got created that you saw being crafted. Very nice. And then of course, you know, it turns into these guys here. And you can see the custom color choices for each type of pendant. Got that dark forest green in there and the moldavite. Got the lighter green there and the blue for the bottom moldavite. Got the pastels, silver, and purple for the Ethiopian opal there in the middle. And another one here. So, yeah, looking great. It's your choice which choice piece you want. Spring in Portland, everybody. Freaking hail all in the street. Ridiculous.